This is my audience for my speech number 3, Comm 101, Informational Speech. My name is Nicole Cutchin. This is speech number 3, Informational Speech for Comm 101, and this speech is about developmental apraxia of speech. Imagine waiting to hear your child's first words. There is so much anticipation on what they will be. Then imagine the first words that come. You have no idea what they said. It's just a babble. You try to coax them into saying it correctly, but it just does not happen. Now imagine that your child is 3 years old and they are still unable to say words correctly or even put them into sentences. It is a constant battle trying to figure out what they have said. Most people take the ability for their children to communicate for granted. When someone is asked a question, they usually think about the answer and then the words come spilling out of their mouth. While this may appear to be a simple thing, the process of communication can actually be quite difficult. Children with DAS, or developmental apraxia of speech, know what you are saying to them, but they can't communicate properly back. That is what parents who have children of developmental apraxia of speech go through on a daily basis. They are unable to clearly communicate with the child the way normal speech-developed children do. I have a daughter who was diagnosed at the age of 3 with DAS. She was completely unable to communicate verbally. Everything was a grunt, babble, or a point to what she wanted or needed. She was having fits that were so uncontrollable that I had to put her in her room for hours at a time. Everyone blamed this on her being spoiled. Even the doctor said not to worry about it. But I knew it was more. I began to do research and took her to a speech pathologist on my own. I was later informed that she had developmental apraxia of speech. I was totally unfamiliar with DAS at first, but have become very knowledgeable over the years. Today I would like to share with you what I have learned about DAS by explaining what DAS is, its characteristics, effects, causes, diagnosis, and treatments of children with DAS. Developmental apraxia of speech is a motor disorder with various names and characteristics. As defined by the Hearing, Speech, and Deafness Center, DAS is a motor speech disorder that affects a child's ability to plan and sequence speech sounds for clear and intelligible speech. Children with DAS have trouble saying sounds, syllables, and words. They have trouble preparing and coordinating the muscles needed for speech production. There are several other names that this disorder goes by, such as dyspraxia, verbal apraxia, childhood apraxia of speech, and articulatory apraxia. There are a number of common characteristics that are present in children that have DAS. As my visual aid, I'm going to show you a girl with apraxia and what she sounds like when she's trying to say the word brush.
So, what?
There are a number of common characteristics that are present in children. Children do not coo or babble much as infants. There are numerous errors in their speech, such as omission of sound, which is very common, substitution for one sound or another, distortions of sounds, and additions of sounds, difficulties in sound sequencing, and as their sentences increase in length, they have more errors in their verbal communication. Sometimes they can say words correct one time, but then when asked to repeat it, it may sound different every time. And they also have difficulty in imitating speech. Now that you know a little bit about how to identify the characteristics of DAS, let's look at some of the effects it can have on a child. Having DAS can be very frustrating not only for the parent, but the child clearly gets frustrated as well. This can lead to trouble in other areas. It may lead to behavioral issues. This often happens because the child becomes frustrated with not being able to be understood. They have trouble reading, writing, and spelling, and often these children have trouble with their fine motor skills, such as being able to cut, use a pen, or forks, knives, spoons, feeding themselves, etc. But how does a child develop DAS? I will now discuss some of the theories behind the causes of DAS. There is currently no known cause for the development of DAS. According to the National Institute of Deafness and Other Communication Disorders, some believe that DAS is a disorder related to the child's overall language development. Others believe that it is a neurological disorder that prevents the brain from sending a signal to the muscles of the face that are required for speech. And some people believe that the area of the brain is not fully developed. Others believe that the brain may have suffered trauma during birth or from lack of oxygen. While there is no known cause for DAS, there are some traits that kids with DAS have in common. Most children with DAS have a parent who have had a speech disorder, and some brain imaging studies have found that children with DAS have some similarities and differences in the brain structure. I bet you're wondering, if there is no cause for DAS, then how would one diagnose a child with DAS? There are several steps that need to be taken in order to diagnose DAS. Pediatric Services advises that the first key point is to have your child's hearing tested to make sure that there are no underlying hearing issues that may cause an error in their speech. A certified speech pathologist will assess your child over a period of time. They will do a series of verbal testing. The speech pathologist will also observe them during normal play and interaction with others. The speech pathologist will then make a diagnosis based on their evaluation. Given the complexity and unknowns of DAS, I am sure you are wondering what type of treatment is used to help a child with DAS. The treatment a child will receive will vary from child to child. It will depend on the severity of the DAS. Speech pathologists will likely focus on oral motor, tactile, auditory, visual, innovative, and phonemic developmental activities. Repetition is the most important aspect of therapy. Kaufman cards are developed for therapists to use that breaks words into sections and builds on them as the child says them better and better. Example, a card for the word bird may start out by having the child only say B, and then add the I, and they will just say B. As the child becomes more fluent, they will eventually have them say the whole word. Parents play just as important role as the speech pathologist. Singing songs that have rhythm and rhyme on a regular basis is a key factor for helping your child develop their speech skills. Try to correct them when they say something wrong without making them feel as though they are wrong, with emphasis on the syllables. Make them feel as relaxed as possible and don't ever discourage them. Praise them for every step forward, even if it is not 100% correct. Often people wonder if they really need to get their child therapy or if they will outgrow this on their own. Children with DAS will not outgrow this disorder on their own, and treatment will not provide a quick fix. Significant improvements can take at least 2 years and often significantly longer. Most children with therapy will eventually be competent speakers. As you have seen, children with apraxia deal with frustration of not being able to communicate every day. Luckily, there are certified speech pathologists that can help your child live a life that is almost normal and become an active member of conversation. In my daughter's case, she went through nearly 5 years of intense therapy, and today her teachers and others have no idea she ever had a speech disorder. I finally have a daughter I can sit and talk to without the frustration and the feel of sorrow. She is such a happy little girl now.